Along the winding Nile River in northeastern Africa, one of the history's greatest civilizations flourished for about 3,000 years. The glory of the ancient civilization was buried beneath layers of these various civilizations after Egypt was conquered by the Greeks, then the Romans, and finally the Muslims. But it only came to light centuries later when archaeologists and historians embraced the field of study known as Egyptology. Even though ancient Egypt is long gone, its wonders are still being discovered. What new information have archaeologists uncovered recently? Why is it so frightful? Join us today as we share with you a startling discovery made by experts in Egypt that will completely alter the world. One of the mysteries that has confounded scientists for years is the existence of the secret chamber in the Giza pyramid. Since the pharaohs of ancient Egypt were regarded as mediators between people and the gods, they were honored by having some of the most magnificent man-made monuments, including the well-known pyramids, built in their honor. So why did they create those pyramids exactly? The king's body was mummified and buried with all the accoutrements of royalty, including gold utensils, food, furniture, and other tributes. One of the most well-known pyramids is the Giza pyramid. The king's room, the queen's chamber, and an underground chamber that appears incomplete are the three main chambers of the Giza pyramid that are known to us. It is believed to be King Khufu's tomb, one of the earliest pharaohs of Egypt. The Grand Gallery, a 40.27 meter long passageway that leads to the king's chamber, is another feature. To ascertain whether there was any previous undiscovered chambers, caverns, tunnels, passageways, or other structures, scientists set out to investigate the interior structure of a pyramid. Archaeologists were intrigued for several reasons, including the fact that the Giza pyramid is essentially devoid of the items that people were typically buried with. This may have been the result of tomb raiders' actions, but they were unable to enter the vast space, so whatever it once contained must have survived. A team of geologists entered a section of Egypt's western desert in 1902 while riding camels. In places where the wind was exceptionally strong, sandstone rocks were sculpted into strange shapes, and the area would shine like gold at night. If someone told you there were whale skeletons in the dry valley, you would not believe them. Although the nearby peak is known as the Mountain of Hell due to its sweltering summer temperatures, the skeletons themselves were 50 feet long, and the longer ones had vertebrae that were as thick as campfire logs. They found that this region and all of northern Egypt were formerly covered by a shallow tropical sea 37 million years ago. The ancient species will eventually reveal answers to one of evolution's most puzzling questions: how whales evolved into whales. Even the geologists weren't aware of this at the time. One piece of information was the fact that these long-dead whales had feet. The prevailing theory among scientists was that whales were formerly land animals that throughout many millions of years gradually lost their hind legs to adapt to life in the sea. Even though older footed whale fossils have been found, Wadi Hittins are unmatched in terms of quantity and level of preservation. The valley, which can be reached from Cairo in about 3 hours, is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and welcomes more than 14,000 visitors annually. The whale's ancestors are thought by paleontologists to have been scavengers like deer or pig that lived close to the water. Around 55 million years ago, they started spending more time in the water, first consuming dead fish close to the shore, and then pursuing prey in the shallows, and finally wading deeper as some of them developed features that aided in aquatic hunting. As they were no longer required to support their entire body weight at sea, they grew in size, their rib cages and backbones lengthening. One of the two groups contained the majority of the fossils in the valley. The horrifying images of these skeletons bobbing in the foul soup gave rise to urban legends about the healing or supernatural powers of the mummy juice, and locals hoped to make a quick buck by bottling and selling the substance. Others were worried that the strange color meant a poisonous substance, like mercury, was present. It was unearthed and unopened, despite fears that dismantling the enormous black granite sarcophagus might unleash an old curse. Archaeologists have discovered the location of the lost labyrinth of ancient Egypt, which may be the greatest discovery of the century. Egypt is undoubtedly a secretive country. Egypt is the one place on Earth that is rife with secrets. We still don't know how some of them work, despite the fact that they have been there for thousands of years. However, one of these mysteries may have finally found an answer thanks to the Labyrinth of Hawara. Legendary historian Herodotus claimed to have counted 3,000 chambers inside this most mystical structure that also served as a burial complex in the 5th century BC.